Can you see that? That is supposed to be this way, not at an angle. This shaft is off. It's way off. What's up, guys? My name is Andy. In this video, I need to fix this pedal assembly on my 1968 F100 pickup. If you notice here, it's kind of hard to tell on the camera, but this shaft is actually supposed to be back here and go straight across this way, not diagonally across that way. And I think part of the problem is nothing's been ever done with this. This has never been rebuilt, whatever. And I think the spring pulling on this system over the course of almost 60 years has worn this shaft through the housing, through this aluminum bushing that's on here, and just started to gouge into the steel of this housing itself. So I was gonna go and buy just another used pedal assembly and just swap this out and get this replaced. But then I found a kit from MustangSteve that is supposed to be a bearing system that allows me to put some bearing races on here and use some ball bearings and then have everything right on that and take the wear and the load and everything off of the housing and put it on the bearing system. And that way I won't have to buy another pedal assembly. These things can be expensive. I was looking for a used one. It was in the $200 to $300 range for a used pedal assembly. And this kit was only $100. So I think it'll do what we need to do. So let's go ahead, take a look at the kit here. What we've got, MustangSteve, and again, this kit is designed for the Mustang, but it'll also fit F100s, which is what I've got, so fantastic. Get all the way down here. Here is the kit itself, and it's a pretty simple kit. All you've got inside here are the two bearing races, and we'll weld those on, and we'll cover that here in a minute. Ball bearings that fit in here, and this is designed to sit at a certain depth, and you can modify this to, for the adjustment of everything, but we can talk about that too. So you got the two bearing races that we're gonna weld onto the housings. We've got these thick washers which are gonna go on the inside as a spacer for the pedal. The brake pedal itself needs to be spaced in the middle and centered and everything. And then we've got some new, these plastic bushings, and then some more spacers for the outside, and a new cotter pin for the system right here. So fantastic. Everything we need, pretty simple kit. So I think the next step is to go ahead and start disassembling the pedal assembly and getting everything taken apart so that we can get to the nuts and bolts of this thing and start working on it. I think the best way to do this is we'll start by taking this cotter pin out and taking this nut off of the shaft here. We start disassembling this system and then start pulling everything apart in here. And the last part will be getting this spring off here, and hopefully this won't be too bad. It's pretty loose, so we should be able to get that off and get this shaft out of here and get everything taken apart, and then go from there. Man, look at that. Can you see how much that's gouged? That really took a chunk out of that. And, on one hand, you could say that there's too much missing for this to be a good shaft. It's still straight. It's not bent or anything, so that's good. And it looks perpendicular to this part here. So I think just cleaning it up, we should be all right. Where this is gonna ride, the bearings are gonna ride right on that part. So it'll be, well, it's all dirty. I have to clean this up, but the bearing's gonna ride, I guess it'll be just inside of that. So we should be all right, because then that means that this good surface here is gonna be riding on the bearing, which is what we want. I guess we want good contact. So, well, cool. I think the next step is let's go ahead and I'm just gonna get this stuff cleaned up, get all this dust off of here and dirt off of here, get everything cleaned up. And then, here's the housing. So again, if you look, these two holes should be concentric, and this is definitely worn out on that one edge there. So cool, when we put this on here, I'm gonna weld it on there, and it won't matter that this is gouged out right here. This will just be welded right on there like that, or really close to somewhere in that area. And there you go. It'll completely cover that up, and I'll do the same thing on this side for that one, and we'll be set. So let me get this cleaned up real quick. All right, now we got this kind of cleaned up, because we got to get this cleaned up because we're gonna weld onto this. We want to have that nice and clean. Same thing on both sides, right? Get that cleaned up. I had to sand this down a little bit so that I can get the bearing to slide on without any problem. So that's important. But you have to be careful not to sand too much, because you don't want this thing to be sloppy on there. But there was a ridge on here that had to get sanded down. So cool, that good's on there good. This thing's all cleaned up. I think from here, what I want to do now is I'm going to assemble this in the pedal assembly here, so that put everything where I need it to be, and get everything lined up with the bearing races in the right spot, and tighten everything down so that when everything's secured, I know where this needs to be. Because what the important thing is this needs to be concentric with the other one on this side. And that's the important part, is these things need, because when you go to assemble this, if they're misaligned, right, then they won't go through. So I'm gonna go ahead and assemble everything, get it all put in place, and then we'll tack these and then go from there. So I've got this assembled, and one thing I'm noticing real quick is that this system can move, because remember the shaft is smaller than that hole that these aluminum, bushings were in. So it's important to get everything lined up here, but I'm finding that I don't know exactly where this needs to go. So what I'm thinking I'm doing is maybe what I'll do is I'll tack weld one of these on as centers as I can, and then I'll assemble a whole system, and that will force the other one into alignment because everything's gonna go straight through it. Then I'll tack the other one, take it all back apart, make sure everything's good, finish welding it, and then I think I'll be good from there. So, because that's, one of the things is that I guess I could just guess where this goes, but one of the problems I have is the pedal, the brake pedal push rod needs to be the correct distance from here to the master cylinder. And so because I can move that, I want this to be in the right spot. So I think I'm gonna tack that in place, then assemble everything, and then go from there. And I think the reason why I'm gonna do this side first is that there's this lip here from the formed edge of this pedal assembly. And if you slide it too far down, it kicks it up. And so if you put this right, as close to the center as possible, we're right on the very edge where this starts to kick that up. So I think maybe just grind a little bit right here just to flatten that out, just for this radius here. And then we'll center this guy up and then go from there. There, so we got that just tacked in place, and you can see, if you look down the side there, this is not being raised by that radius on the sheet metal, grounded just a little bit there. So cool, I think from here, I can go ahead and assemble everything, and that should line everything up with where it needs to be over here, and then, yeah. All right, we got everything installed. I think from here, there's just still a tiny bit of play in this, but the important thing is I know that it's lined up with this other bearing race, so I think if I'm off by a millimeter where this thing goes, a perfect world, this shaft is, I guess perpendicular with the pedal assembly. But the important thing is that everything's lined up as best I can get. And there's some bushings and stuff that go in here when you're done. We don't need that. That's all for final fitment. Just for getting this thing located, we don't need those bushings to do that. It's not going to change anything. So cool. I think from here I'm going to tack. I think I'm just going to go ahead and tack this, take it all apart, and then finish welding up the bearing races. We don't need to weld all the way around, just a couple of, stitch welds around the outside how to do it. Careful, don't get too much heat into them, because you may change the size of the bearing race, and the bearing won't fit, and if it does, you have to grind it out a little bit. They talk about it in the instructions that came with this kit. So remember, this is for a Mustang, but it will work with this F100, and so cool. I'm gonna go ahead and get this finished out. I figured I'd show this real quick. So this is just one tack holding it in place. And you can see that oblong hole that it wore in there from the shaft wearing on it is not going to be a problem anymore. And actually, this, if you look at the little star pattern that this thing made that was on there, this bearing race is really fairly centered. I'm happy with that. Cool. So I'm just going to go ahead and finish welding this out, and we're looking pretty good. All right, guys, we got this welded up. This is definitely not a how-to on how to weld. My weld sucks, so we're not going to get any closer to the camera than this. But it is welded, secured in place. And don't do what I did. Don't leave your bearing in the race when you're welding. You're just going to heat your bearing up and you could ruin it. And that was just a stupid move. I shouldn't have done that. So anyways, I got the other one out before I welded it up, but that was dumb. Cool. So from here, I'm going to start assembling everything. And really, we can assemble it for the last time and start putting in these little bushing pieces and stuff like that to get everything lined up. There is a order to these pieces. And in fact, the instructions tell you to weld these in place inside here. And I might have to go back and do that. We'll see how it all bolts up and see if everything fits. But maybe that's for the Mustang setup, not for the F100. I'm not sure yet, but we'll find out. I'm going to go ahead and start getting everything put together, and then we'll go from there. All right, ultimately we got it done here. You saw towards the end there, I was messing with this stop and I messed with this for a little while, trying to figure out the exact spot for it. And this is kind of an eccentric piece back here, so you can loosen this up and spin it around so that this clutch pedal is in the right location when it's not engaged versus when it's engaged and stuff. And so you'll have to mess with that on yours to get it dialed in. But other than that, this is it. This is all ready to go. Everything works like it's supposed to. I don't know if this is supposed to be a little looser or not, but it is moving, so that's an important part. And then when we hook up the brake master cylinder push rod to this, that'll help keep it in place. But yeah, that was definitely money saved. And if you don't have a welder, then obviously you can take it into a shop and get it done, but it's still cheaper than buying a used one of these and hoping that doesn't have problems. So cool. All right, guys, that's it. That's the MustangSteve bearing kit installed on an F100 pedal assembly. I'm happy with it. I'm anxious to get it back in the truck. All right, guys, if you liked the video, give me a thumbs up. And if you subscribe, I appreciate it because it helps my channel out. And we'll see you in the next one.